Have you ever considered the possibility of unresolved emotions blocking your fertility? Identifying and addressing this is actually a really big part of my work. And one of the emotions that can block your fertility is anger, especially when it's unresolved. And sometimes especially when it's hidden. Because guess what? You may not always know that you're actually quite angry about something deep down, and that is messing with your trying to conceive journey at the moment. Hello lovelies, and welcome to another one of my videos in which we'll be talking about how unresolved anger that sometimes is hidden might be messing with your fertility today. Emotional blocks are the reason that all of my patients start out with a strategy session with my strategist, Helen Soutar. She's an expert at identifying blocks, and especially emotional blocks, and helping you discover a strategy to overcome those blocks. So for today, I am sharing part of an interview I did with her not too long ago on emotional blocks, and today's topic will be anger. I hope you enjoy.
Obviously, a lot of the work that you do with your patients is based on the medical side of things. It's on the health side. Whereas the work that I do is more based on their emotional health, what their thought patterns are, what their belief systems are, the things that we tell ourselves. So, for example, if you believe that you are rubbish at something, you often will avoid doing it because we don't want to be rubbish at things. Mm-hmm. So if you believe things like your body is incapable of maintaining a pregnancy through to healthy birth of a baby, you are actually blocking stuff all along the way. You might also have things like judgments from other people. Other people might have said to you things like, oh, you've got a good old pair of childbearing hips there. And so you get these ideas. I was told that as a child. All the way through my childhood, I was told I had good childbearing hips. Now, in my case, that worked out really well because it meant that I never worried about giving birth.
Yeah.
I was always of the opinion that my pelvis was big enough, my hips were wide enough. But I know other people who've been told their pelvis is too small to ever birth a baby.
Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah.
And that actually, I know women who have gone on to never even attempt vaginal birth.
Yes, exactly.
So these things that we're told as children or young adults or at particular parts in our life where we're susceptible to them, that sticks with you, you know. Mm-hmm. So any of these comments that are made to us at those key parts in our life does, and then they affect how we behave later on. So the work that I do with your patients is looking at what have they been told or what's happened in their life, which might be affecting their behaviour now, and which might also be affecting their health in terms of fertility.
Exactly. What we wanted to do with you guys today is give you a bit of a taster, because there's a lot of work, emotional work, that you can do at home already. And I don't think anybody can be excluded when it comes to this. And that's why I don't assess at the beginning of a treatment plan, oh, should you or should you not be talking to Helen? And I think it always helps them to change perspective, I guess, on the treatment plan. It's a lot more holistic, which is what it should be. Plus, what is great is you can already surface some of the old traumas, the old scripts, the emotions that might be blocking that I can prescribe on. The emotional aspect is extremely important as part of my work.
Yeah, definitely.
You do a big part of that, and then you say, okay, well, we've got grief, we've got trauma, this is what happened, divorce, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, great, these remedies are a couple that we're gonna need. And then I can actually focus on the charts, I can focus on the treatment plan, on the supplements. And I think that's super helpful.
It makes people realise that that is a valid thing to be looking at, and to think that actually you could sit down and just modify how you feel about something. Yes. And that could have an impact. Exactly. That's quite a new idea to most people still, I think.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping that this video is going to be part of teaching all of you guys another aspect of your fertility journey. So today we're going to talk to you about 3 huge emotional blocks that we both see in my patients that can potentially block your fertility and that are worthwhile to look at. And we're going to start with the first one that starts with an A, which is
anger.
Anger. Yeah, I like this one because a lot of people wouldn't think of connecting that to their fertility, right?
Yeah. And anger is shown as something where you lose control, and it's often something which people don't want to feel. And yet anger can be so good as an emotion in terms of making progress. It can be the thing that pushes you forward in a way that excitement just doesn't, for example.
And from a homeopathic point of view, releasing your anger is super important because anger actually puts pressure on your liver, and we need a healthy liver to process hormones. So even if you don't care about the whole emotional stuff, you will care about your liver and about your hormone imbalance, right? Anger isn't always something that you just have now in this moment. It can be about something that happened ages ago, and it might not even be a big thing. So what kind of things have you seen with my patients that made you think, wow, I see a lot of anger, and this is actually what the root is, and that is what you should be addressing?
Yeah. Okay, so there tends to be different categories. The first one is anger that comes up as either frustration or jealousy. It's, why is it that every time I go out into the street, I just see pregnant women everywhere? It's that kind of, it's not fair because it's not me. The other one, though, can be anger at yourself or at your partner, and this one is often more hidden. So this one can be, you can be angry, and often what we see, particularly in women who have had previous losses, they're angry at their own body. Why can't you hold on to this pregnancy? Why are you not functioning as I want you to and I expect you to? And then the other one can be a kind of bubbling resentment. And that can be focused at your partner. Why don't you take this as seriously as I do? Or why aren't you doing everything you possibly could to increase our chances of having a healthy baby?
That's a big one. Partners that aren't on board, that don't want to take the supplements because it makes them gag.
Or ones who like reach a point where they want to have a glass of wine and the other one is disapproving that they're having some alcohol, or the one that can't cut back their coffee intake completely and the other one is critical of that. So that kind of bubbling resentment then tends to show, it doesn't feel like anger all of the time, but every now and again it goes a bit too far and then it tends to explode in anger. It's very blaming resentment, anger. Right. So it tends to result in difficult conversations with the people around you.
For sure. And then another type of anger that I see a lot has to do with past trauma. So patients of mine that may have been pregnant before and maybe lost a baby and had a D&C, but it was really invasive. Gynecologists that hurt them, even a simple pap smear has been part of a case of mine of a patient that wasn't able to fall pregnant. And then there are even worse situations of abuse and sexual harassment and rape that will leave an imprint on your emotional system. So as far as the trauma and connecting it to anger, you might think, well, trauma that actually gave me a lot of grief and I'm really sad and I'm depressed over it. I don't feel angry. Haha. And this is the interesting bit, because if you have been attacked in any kind of way, or you think you were attacked, your boundaries have been crossed, the healthy reaction would be anger, because anger is what moves us towards setting boundaries, right? And telling somebody no. But if you are undergoing a D&C or you're in the middle of childbirth, you're not going to tell those doctors stop. So you don't express that anger. And then it goes into grief, it goes into depression, while the healthy reaction would have been anger. See if you can tap into that anger, and that would actually be very healing in the first place, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anger, when it's used in the right way and when it's used appropriately, is actually a really good emotion.
Especially in that area, I find that homeopathic remedies are extremely helpful. You will still need to do the process, but the remedies will help unlock sometimes also anger that you're not even aware of. So what would you advise to our viewers right now? If you know you're dealing with anger, if you see a resemblance with the things we just mentioned, what would you say that they can do today, right now, to get a hold on that?
Okay, so the first thing is to acknowledge straight away that anger isn't this terrible emotion that we should all suppress.
Right.
Until you can say to yourself, it's okay for me to be angry, it's okay for me to feel angry, and I am safe to feel angry. Because often what people worry about is that if they allow a little bit out, they'll never be able to put the lid back on, that it feels like you're opening up Pandora's box and you will just spend the next 3 years in a rage. Honestly, it doesn't happen like that. We can't actually manage to hold on to really severe emotions for longer than about 90 seconds. You might get waves of them where you get a big flash of anger and then you calm for a second and then it comes back again and then it calms. But we generally can't sustain really prolonged periods of time where we feel these completely overwhelming emotions.
Mhm.
So the first thing is to just coach yourself a little bit. It's okay for me to be angry. I can allow my anger to be expressed without worrying that I will go on like this forevermore. Once you've then got to that place, you can then start to express your anger. Now, depending on how you work best, you may find that journaling about it, writing it down, sit down and write all of the worst possible things you would want to say. You might then burn that. You might then tear it up and bury it somewhere, or whatever works for you as a kind of ritual to say, I'm releasing this. Another thing you might want to do is access some kind of professional support. So somebody that will listen to you and allow you to express this anger whilst keeping you safe. And the other one is to look at how you communicate with the people around you and find a system that works for you that allows you to express the smaller bits of situations that make you angry on a more day-to-day basis, rather than allowing them to become this much bigger issue. You come home from work and your partner's breakfast dishes are still on the table, and it would have taken them literally 4 seconds to walk over to the dishwasher and put them in. And you're tired, and instead of just being able to sit down and get on with whatever you need to do, you've got to deal with that first. If you can deal with that there and then, it lowers your overall anger level rather than letting it build and build and build and build and build. And it is a process, because we all tend to suppress anger at one time or another. We have to, really. If you're having a bad day and you go to the train station and somebody gets in your way, you can't just unleash.
We can't just throw ourselves on the floor in the middle of the supermarket like a lot of kids do every time we are upset over something. So it's a good survival mechanism to maintain your relationships and your reputation. Now you know how to identify whether anger might be blocking your fertility and where to start addressing it. You may feel that you would like to have a little bit of help with that, and for that you can book in with Helen personally for one-to-one sessions, but I can also really recommend her course. In this course, you will learn how to identify other blocks as well as the anger. Maybe there are other emotional blocks. And the course helps you to zoom in on those blocks, as well as help you build resilience while you are walking the trying to conceive journey, as well as find strategies to overcome obstacles that are currently keeping you from having that little baby in your arms. If you're currently waiting to work with me because I'm fully booked and about to go on maternity leave, then this course would be an excellent way to spend your time. I promise you, if you do the work on this course diligently, then the treatment plan will be a lot shorter than when you don't start with this. If you would like to see the next 2 videos in this series on the other 2 fertility blocking emotions, then make sure to subscribe. Also, if you're interested in other videos on boosting your fertility naturally, because I bring out new videos every Thursday. And in the meantime, see you in the next video. Bye!